Truckee River is what we're talking about right here, and I'm with Current Fly Fishing and the owner, Dave Harvey. He is our guy, knows the Truckee, knows the area, and he's the one that we turn to for reports for the Truckee River in that area. How you doing, Dave?
Doing well, Rick. How are you?
Fantastic, doing great. So let's see what's going on with the Truckee. I know we've had some weather come in recently, and it's kind of maybe passed, or maybe we'll get a little bit more. What are the conditions like up there? Has that changed anything, or how are things going just in general?
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely coming into summer. Last week we had a kind of sporadic weather system in the weekend, and it provided for some pretty cool fishing opportunities. Then pretty soon after, temperatures shot up, and we're starting to see the flow decrease a little bit. I think right now the main part of the river is in the canyon, sitting at about 550 CFS, and we're no longer floating it, but it makes for walk and wade accessibility a lot more easy. So as we start to get down towards that 400 range, that's pretty prime walk and wade water to get in there.
Okay, yeah, so we had talked before about for walk and wade to get down below 600, and it was like 800 to 850 at that a couple weeks ago. So now we're getting down, right? So it kind of really dropped down. So you're no longer floating. But this is the time where you can get to those spots with walk and wade.
Yeah, definitely. It makes it a lot more accessible in a lot of ways, getting up the side of the river. And as a result, temperatures in the water are starting to come up as well. On some of the cooler nights, the next morning, we're starting the days around kind of low 50s, and then making our way, 55, 58, depending on how hot it is that day. So we're starting to see ideal trout temperatures and a lot of activity from the fish as well. So it's good for now, but as things go on, it's going to heat up. So we want to start moving our fishing hours earlier and earlier as we get into July coming up here.
Okay, so the idea here is right now, because we had talked before about 58 degrees or so being about the best kind of prime temperature in there, and before it was in the low 50s. So obviously that's come up as well with the way the weather's gone and the flows. So we're still good right now, but as we start to get over the next several weeks, you're expecting maybe temperatures to start to increase, and so we got to be a little more careful on the way we fish and handle fish and so on.
Yeah, totally. So, we offer full day trips kind of up until we just have to see how it goes. But it's typically like the second week of July. If it starts really getting hot, we start just doing half days. And, we typically move our start time to a little earlier than we would otherwise, just to try to maximize our time on the water during those cooler hours. But as it is right now, we're still looking okay all day long. So we're fishing all day long. And, there tends to be a late morning hatch, and we've got an abundance of bugs at the moment. And then kind of, tapers off through the middle of the day. And then again in the evening, we start to see more activity bug-wise.
So you had said on last time, again, a couple weeks ago, with the hatches were a little bit, kind of as the day warmed up, kind of mid-morning and on. But you're seeing a little bit more activity now that the weather is warmed up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just like the fish, the bugs are pretty temperature activated in a lot of ways. So, if it's a little cool in the morning, as things get to start, it's midges, and then it's mayflies, and then you start seeing the stones. So there's a lot of stuff on the menu right now for these fish, and that's been one of the challenges for us recently. Is a lot of bugs they're eating. Which one are they eating? That's been the challenge. Yeah.
You gotta we're on the buffet, or do you find place your appropriate stuff? We had talked about a little bit before also that midges, and then the March browns a little bit, and a little bit PMBs, but not quite caddis yet. Is that coming on? Are the caddis coming off now?
They are. Yeah, we're getting quite a few caddis, and some days that's kind of the main bug you're going to see out there. Yeah, a pretty good size caddis. You're looking at about 16, 14, and it starts getting good, pretty large size bugs. We do see those caddis kind of throughout the day, and they're typically on the browner side, especially as they're emerging. We'll have a few kind of green-bodied caddis buzzing around, but it's usually kind of a brown color to them. So it's if you're going for a match.
Just sticking with dry flies, does the Truckee fish well at all, or have any kind of element of terrestrials, hoppers or anything on the Truckee in it? And when would that occur?
Yeah, it's not necessarily the riparian environment there on the sides. It's not pasture in a lot of places. There are grasshoppers buzzing around, and of course the occasional one falls in, but they're not necessarily like the grasshopper season on the Madison. It's not. They're just coming in all over the place. We do fish terrestrials, and a lot of times it's with the dropper. Okay. A lot of times that's a productive method in certain water types. One of my favorite ones to use is like a Chernobyl ant or a chubby Chernobyl, where you've got that big white kind of wing coming off, and it really helps with visibility. And when I put it on for clients, I say, okay, this is your edible indicator. They're most likely going to take the nymph, but it's happened quite often that they'll just take a random swipe at that big ant pattern, and we've hooked fish on that. And in the last few weeks, that's been a kind of fun way to fish it. We put a rather long dropper on. We run it usually 2 to 3 feet underneath like a tungsten nymph down there, and that kind of covers most bases for us. And it's easy to cast. That sort of thing is kind of fun. Yeah, but that's where we see that.
You had talked also, and just in general, right? So the river in general fishes primarily you're fishing nymphing, and even when you're doing some surface, you've got a dropper on there, which is interesting. So now, depth-wise, are you really dragging the bottom at this point? Does it change, or where's your feeling there in terms of those tactics?
Yeah, definitely. It tends to be, we'll find fish, they're maybe a little suspended off the bottom, or they're hitting the surface on occasion. Every now and then, over the last few weeks, there's been a couple days where we have run into rising fish, and of course we switch tactics and try to go for them, but like a light switch, they're on and off with that. So those are brief little windows in certain areas that have that water type. Most of the time, like you say, we're nymphing, and that's definitely the case. Find that most of the time the fish are going to hang near the bottom, foot off the bottom, things like that. The depth of water that we look for that holds fish is typically like 2 to 3 feet deep, with kind of your fast walking pace water. And as we get into summer, we're moving more and more towards that real fast walking pace water. They start to really hang out in the faster stuff with more oxygen in it. But a good rule of thumb is, if you're looking into the water and you can start to see a color change, you see the bottom disappear, and you start to see that murky green of the substrate. Now the bottom disappears from your field of view. That's typically where you're going to find fish hanging just out of the way of an osprey or an eagle, or what may be. And that tends to be where they feel most comfortable. We do have fish in deeper holes, of course, but those aren't necessarily fish feeding. So we look for hungry fish when we're out there, and in that 2 to 3 foot depth and that kind of medium fast water this time of year is definitely where we want to focus. We pick up most of our fish in that kind of zone.
All right. Really good advice. Wonderful stuff. Appreciate that a lot, David. Yeah. You're the guy that knows. So that's really good stuff for anybody heading up to that Truckee. And obviously you'd be able to help them and kind of train somebody and help them, educate them as you're up there. Dave, how can we get a hold of you for somebody who wants to put a trip together?
Yeah, definitely. You can look us up online at currentflyfishing.com. We've got lots of pictures. All of our guide products are up there. Locations, things like that, kind of little blog about just things we do up here. You can also give me a call directly at 760-937-2234. And, we're big on beginners. We love taking beginners out and just teaching someone new to the sport. And we do a lot of those trips, and we pride ourselves on being knowledgeable and having the skills to teach someone getting into it. We do plenty of advanced, fly fishermen, and we get a lot of people from all skill levels. So that's definitely, we make it accessible, and you can get a hold of us either one of those ways. And if I don't answer, it's probably because I'm on the river. So just leave a message and I'll get back to you.
All right, that's great. Appreciate it a lot, and appreciate the info and the report. That's Dave Harvey, Current Fly Fishing. He gave you his information there to get a hold of him, and the company too put together a guide trip. I'll also put his information in the post so that you have a link in there, and then you can get to them. And you can also contact us, and we'll put you in touch with Dave and his crew up there. And these are the guys that know the Truckee and they know the area. And you'll definitely something here that you can get a lot of fun and put you onto some fish. So we appreciate the report up there at the Truckee River, and we'll talk again with Dave here soon, and we'll see you right here next time on the Backcast.